I'm an American who's been traveling the world and living abroad for nearly 2 years, and I've seen a lot of beautiful sights along the way. That said, there are still many more beautiful sights that I have not yet seen, especially in Europe. Bearing that in mind, in this video, we will be exploring 10 of the most beautiful places in Europe, and they get increasingly more beautiful as we go. So, we're starting our journey off in the Jordan district, I think it's pronounced, in Amsterdam. So if you didn't know, I spent 14 months living in the Netherlands, but I never actually visited Amsterdam, believe it or not. This is very aesthetically pleasing. I've never been to Amsterdam, at least for longer than around 20 minutes, but from the videos I've seen and the pictures I've seen, it is one of the most aesthetically pleasing built environments in the world, in my personal opinion. And I'm someone who spends a lot of time on Google Maps doing exactly this, just exploring. This is top notch, absolutely stunning. And then of course you have the canals. Yeah, this is very, very Dutch. I feel like from an American perspective, some parts of Europe I would maybe confuse with other parts of Europe. I don't know if I'd be able to distinguish between, let's say, for example, Denmark and Norway. I guess we'll find out in this video. But the Netherlands instantly stands out. It instantly stands out. This is absolutely gorgeous. And it also helps that this seems like a very nice weather day, which, to be honest, in my time in the Netherlands, that was pretty rare. You can also see the leaves are changing. So this is around autumn. Probably very, very nice temperatures. And now you can see it's a little bit cloudier. This is more what I was accustomed to seeing in the Netherlands, but very vibrant, very lively. You see a lot of people cycling and walking. To me, that does play a major part in the beauty of not just the Netherlands, but pretty much everywhere I've been to in Europe. So I have never set foot in the Czech Republic before, and I don't really know too much about it, but I guess we're about to discover it together. Okay, this is nice. This is nice. This definitely has a lot of charm, and the architecture looks a lot older than what we just saw in Amsterdam. I could be wrong about that. I'm not really too privy to historical architecture, but you can see they have the horses with the carriage. This is something that I really like about Europe, and I've seen this in just about every place I've been to in Europe, is that you have this plaza square culture. You have these centralized areas to congregate, and this looks like some sort of tour guide type situation. There's a lot of people gathered right here, and I see why. This is absolutely stunning. But let's see how it compares to this next place, which is Frederiksstaden in Copenhagen. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but if you're Danish, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Let's see what this is talking about. So this definitely has more of a modern vibe to it, which, if you're new to my channel, I do prefer the modern vibe, generally speaking. I can appreciate the historical vibe, but I tend to favor this. That said, I'm not sure if I would put this above what we just saw in Prague. And if you're wondering how I got these rankings, basically what I did was I asked ChatGPT to tell me what some of the most beautiful locations in Europe are and rank them in descending order of beauty. And that's how I ended up with this list. I mean, this is still nice, but this doesn't really have that many distinguishing characteristics, in my opinion. I kind of feel like this could be almost anywhere in Europe. I don't know. I feel like there's a better part of Copenhagen to represent what the city actually is. But again, I do like the modernness of these buildings right here. A lot of glass. But let's go ahead and kind of go down the street a little bit, see if we can find something a little more prototypically Danish. I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but this right here looks pretty nice. This is a little more similar to what we saw in Amsterdam. I feel like the Nordic cities typically favor these colorful buildings, which makes sense because I imagine that for as little sunlight as the Netherlands gets, the Nordic cities get even less than that. So definitely a nice addition to the built environment and the architecture. You can see they have the bike lanes as well, of course. That seems to be a thing pretty much anywhere in Europe you go. So we have a more historical vibe here, but I would say this actually looks more charming and more inviting than that initial location. And again, I don't know much about these places, so I don't really know where to explore. I'll leave that to you to tell me in the comments because you probably know more about these places than I do. But this building right here looks old. I can tell this was probably built in the 1200s or something like that. Definitely before the US was a thing. So I feel like when most Americans think of Europe, they think of Paris. And I haven't been to Paris, but from everything I've heard about it, it does seem like a really nice location. Not sure what's up with the lighting here, but from what I'm seeing, this is pretty nice. I mean, it's a bridge. There are bridges in pretty much every city around the world, but this is a nice bridge, I'll say that. I definitely feel like there are more picturesque locations throughout Paris, but again, maybe the lighting is playing a role in that. Okay, this has better lighting right here. Okay, I think I'm starting to see it now. I'm seeing the vision. This right here is definitely a nice touch, for sure. For sure. The level of attention to detail on these pillars, I guess you would call them, definitely very nice. And then of course you had the water view. Strangely enough, this place actually kind of reminds me of Washington, D.C. And maybe that's because of that building that we just looked at, but I feel like D.C., at least of the places I've been in the U.S., is one of the most European-looking cities that we have, along with Boston. But Boston, I would say, resembles more of the UK, maybe? The UK, kind of the Netherlands as well, to an extent. But this kind of reminds me a bit of DC, especially with these lighter colored buildings. Seems to be a lot of greenery in Paris as well, which is nice. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard the best things about Paris from Europeans, especially. It seems like Europeans see Paris in the way that Americans see LA. And that's an analogy that I've drawn in the past, is that Paris might be the LA of Europe, or rather LA is the Paris of the US, where everyone kind of has the rose-tinted glasses until they actually go there. But I feel like if you go in knowing what to expect and you just take it for what it is, I mean, this does seem like a nice place, but I do feel like there are better representations of Paris than what we're seeing here. Let me know in the comments what you think some of those might be. So I'm not gonna lie, if you had asked me to point out Edinburgh on a map in 2021, wouldn't have been able to do it. I literally did not know Edinburgh was even a thing. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Let me know if I am in the comments. I didn't know it was a thing until my girlfriend mentioned it. She told me that she really wanted to visit there in the fall time especially, and we watched a few videos of people doing walking tours and whatnot, and it does seem like a very aesthetically pleasing city, especially if you're into the historical vibe. So let's see what Calton Hill is talking about. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the vision. I'm seeing the vision. Now, to be fair, I'm a little bit biased. I really like vantage points like this. I really like vantage points like this. I think maybe because in Dallas, where I grew up, we just didn't really have a lot of them. So anytime I can see a lot of a city from the top of a hill or mountain or wherever else, generally I will favor that particular part of the city. But let me see if I can actually find a better view, because I feel like that one was a little bit limited. Let's actually go here and see what we can see from here. Yeah, this is more like it. You can see some water. It looks like there are some mountains off in the distance too. I didn't even know you had mountains in the UK, if I'm being completely honest. But the architecture has that very, very historical vibe. And again, I like modern architecture, but I can't appreciate this for what it is. And I like that you have the sitting areas. Looks like you have some sort of, I don't know what this is, some sort of structure or something. But this kind of reminds me, in a strange way, of Griffith Observatory in LA. If you've ever been to Griffith Observatory, then maybe you see the resemblance as well. But you have a really, really nice view, and this is definitely a place that whenever my girlfriend and I do visit Edinburgh, we will most certainly check out for ourselves. I've never been to Portugal before, but I did have a very brief layover in Portugal when I visited Europe for the first time. And I must say that based on what I saw from the plane, Portugal had to be top 5. Lisbon particularly had to be top 5 in terms of just sheer beauty. And the ground view most certainly confirms this, because this is absolutely gorgeous. So I know I keep drawing comparisons to American cities. That's just my best reference point because, I mean, I'm American. But I feel like it kind of reminds me of San Francisco a little bit. With the mid-rise development, it seems very hilly as well. So maybe if Paris is the LA of Europe, then Lisbon would be the San Francisco of Europe. If you've traveled through the US and you've traveled through Europe, let me know if you agree with those comparisons. But Portugal seems like a really, really nice place. I'm imagining the weather would be very similar to Spain as well. I've been to Valencia, Spain. The weather was absolutely flawless. So I'm assuming you have a similar weather pattern. Seems very sunny there, nice and warm, maybe a bit hot in the summers, but the winters are probably amazing. And you can see from right here, I mean, you see some of the water, the architecture has a lot of character, very unique. And this is one of those areas, just like Amsterdam, that you wouldn't really confuse this with any other part of Europe, I don't think. Maybe Spain, but I don't know if the Spanish cities get as hilly as Lisbon. Let me know in the comments if they do. Norway, in my head at least, seems like a very beautiful place, especially with the fjords. So let's see what this is talking about. Yeah, this is definitely top 5, easily. And I find it funny because a lot of Americans, for whatever reason, they think that the US's natural beauty, which by the way, the US does have a lot of natural beauty, to be fair, especially when you consider the fact that it's one country. But for some reason, they think that that's exclusively a US thing, and that is most certainly not the case. I mean, the fjords, this rivals pretty much anything that we have in the US, in my personal opinion. This is really, really nice. This is super nice. And I wonder if you can actually see the northern lights from here. Because if you can see the northern lights from here, then honestly, this might be ahead of anything we have in the US outside of maybe Alaska. This is gorgeous. Let me know if you've been to the fjords in Norway before and what you think of them, because I feel like with places like this, I guess this is what it looks like in the winter time. So definitely a lot more beautiful in the warmer months. You can see all this greenery. But I feel like with locations like this, images never really do it justice. Is that a house over there? Imagine living right here at the bottom of one of the fjords. That is insane. Those are probably vacation homes, but look, if I ever get to a point where I have the disposable income to just start purchasing vacation homes, or I have the wealth rather to purchase vacation homes, I'm gonna buy this house right here. This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. And I drew this analogy whenever I was doing the Touring the USA series with my girlfriend. You can go and check those videos out if you haven't already, but I feel like Switzerland is very similar to Colorado in the US, where it's generally a very wealthy place that's known for mountains, and you can get a pretty high quality of life there. And maybe this is kind of the Swiss equivalent to Vail, Colorado, which I think is the premier ski town. I don't really know because I've never been skiing, but if and when we do visit this place, I would love to give skiing a fair shot because, I mean, this looks very nice. Let me know if you had the option to get a vacation home in either this place right here, so Grindelwald Village, Switzerland, in the Swiss Alps, or vacation home on Eagle Road in the Norwegian fjords. Where would you want your vacation home to be? Honestly, I don't know too much about Italy. I know that they have mountains there and a lot of scenic views, and this is definitely one of them. This is definitely one of them, no doubt. And the roads look really nice as well. I mean, I shouldn't really be surprised because it's Europe, and from what I've seen, Europe really prioritizes infrastructure, even in these desolate locations. Is that a door? I need to know where that leads to. Does that lead to some sort of basement or something? Because I see a wall right there, and then there's just a ladder. There's a story behind this. What is that door for? If you know what that's for, or if there are more like it in Italy, let me know why that's there. And honestly, this place right here looks like a great place to go for a drive if you own a sports car. I would love to take a leisurely drive through this road right here. And honestly, I would rank this right in line with what we just saw in Switzerland and Norway as far as natural beauty. I feel like they're all tied. But this next place right here, the most beautiful place in Europe, according to ChatGPT, again, don't shoot the messenger, should theoretically surpass all three of these previous locations. Yep, I'm gonna put this ahead of the previous three places. It's just personal preference, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but I don't think I've ever seen mountains that look like this before. Why are they so sharp? How did that happen? I've never seen that before. And you have a really good view. Wow, this is nice. I don't know how far this is from that previous location, but I kind of want to take a drive from the other place here and then park right here and maybe go for a hike wherever that trail leads to. I'm not really one for hiking, especially up a steep mountain like that, but I would make an exception for this particular location. And you even have some rolling hills. This is nice. I don't know that I've seen a place anywhere that I've been that was on this level beauty-wise. I mean, this is absolutely stunning. And they have a hotel right here. You're probably charging 300 euros a night. And people are happily paying it because, I mean, where else are you going to get this kind of view? Maybe there are more beautiful places than this in Europe. If there are, let me know in the comments so I can make a part 2 of this video.